This is a series of videos in which Philip Maris interviews Dr. John Ricketts, the author of the book Exceeding the Goal: Adventures in Strategy, Information Technology, Computer Software, Technical Services, and Goldratt's Theory of Constraints. John, you say in your book Exceeding the Goal that the meaning of the word constraint in constraint management is different to everyday meaning. Could you explain that, please?
In common usage, a constraint is anything that blocks or inhibits improvement. By that definition, constraints are everywhere, and problems are therefore intractable. In contrast, a constraint in constraint management is the least productive element in a set of tasks, or the least available resource in a set of resources, so the constraint limits overall performance. By that definition, constraints are few, often just one, and problems are manageable. But we should acknowledge the many constraints illusion. When I talk with staff, managers, and executives in IT, they easily list dozens of things that block or impede improvement. That includes technical architecture, technical debt, accessibility, internationalization, rework, and so forth. Such roadblocks, or bottlenecks, do affect productivity by establishing requirements and necessary conditions for projects, but they themselves are not amenable to constraint management. Taking software projects as an example, if developers are the constraint, then staffing of appropriate skills and knowledge is constraint management. To get more, better, faster deliverables, assign the right developers, then equip them and motivate them to do their best work. That may require acceptance of or modification to items on the aforementioned list of roadblocks, and also attention to compensation, work environment, tools, and other necessary conditions for high productivity. Of course, developers aren't always the constraint on software projects, but that does not mean that such projects face dozens of constraints. Many items on developers' lists of perceived constraints are actually requirements or necessary conditions. And using the constraint management definition of constraints, those aren't constraints because you can't use them to manage performance. Before we proceed, though, we should get some terminology straight with regard to constraints and see the table. An internal constraint means you can't produce enough of products or goods and services to satisfy all demand. In contrast, an external constraint means the market won't buy all the products and services you can produce. An operational constraint means a particular project, process, or resource, such as a person or asset, something produced by a project, process, or resource. A tactical constraint means reacting to competitors. A strategic constraint means creating competitive advantage.
Okay, thanks, John. Well, now that we know what you mean by a constraint in constraint management, let's have a look at what constraint management applied to information technology means.